Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Business. I am your host, Catryn Becker. Today, I am joined by the flawless Stephanie Goshen. It's so true. And you guys will all learn this and be like, yes, I agree. So she owns an incredible salon called Eden Rain, which she has evolved into an incredible apothecary as well. So Stephanie, welcome to the show. We're so glad
Thank
to
you
have
for
you.
having me. I'm super excited to
Absolutely.
be here.
So give us a little background of how you got to where you are currently in business. What was that road for you?
Um, oh, geesh, lots. Let's see. I started out by obviously going to school for cosmetology. I was scholarshiped. I didn't go behind the chair at first. I was scholarshiped and became an educator with Aveda. I worked with them on a school level and then a platform level for a lot of years. And then I went behind the chair and, built businesses and learned about retail sales and marketing. And then, like, the most important thing I think I learned out of all of that experience was like marketing myself. And that I was the face of my business, even though it wasn't like my business yet. And then starting the company and realizing that, gosh, I thought it was going to be a lot more glamorous. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an owner. That is just a lot of work. So I have been doing hair since I was 18. I've had my own business for about 12 years now. And then last year, I decided that I wanted to start what I call my afterlife or my retirement plan. So I started making soaps and candles and bath salts and decided I was going to start it on a smaller scale. And then in July of this year, I opened up a bigger building and it's just kind of grown and exploded and had legs and just started running. So, yeah.
But you were doing a lot in the background to build to get to this point.
I started making soaps when my daughters were younger, partly because it was just money saving as a single mother. And then I told myself one day I would start a business with it. And so I've always made my own like bath and body care products, and I'm allergic to everything. So it was important for me to know what ingredients were inside of my products to use. And so, yeah, I never really ever saw myself as a business person. I just saw myself as a creative. And then all of a sudden I became a businesswoman. So
Well, one of the things that I found fascinating through these interviews that I'm doing is how people start getting into business. Like, what examples did you have growing up?
um so my dad owned his own business. It was a lot of like turkey sandwiches at the beginning of it because you invest everything that you have into it. And then I just remember watching him want to make something different with his life and provide for us, his children, in a different way. And then me being a single mom at a very young age and with very young children, I realized that, like, for me, being able to call in sick or having to take off days when my kids were sick was very difficult to do when I was working for someone else. And I knew I needed to be what I called in the control seat, just so that I could make sure that I can have longevity within like what I wanted to do. But I also am not a good employee. I'm just not. I have too many ideas. And then I felt stifled when I was in a corporate setting that I couldn't really express myself or do the things that I wanted to do. And I realized the only, I'm going to say, compromise in that was for me to start my own business. So, a wing and a prayer and a lot of turkey sandwiches starting out.
I love a good turkey sandwich.
Girl, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are, afraid and they don't know how to make that leap to learn the things that need to happen in business. They don't know where to start. They don't know where to go. So how did you navigate that? Especially thinking of yourself as a creative, like what sources did you utilize? What did you find to be the most beneficial
I
to
asked
help
a
you learn those
lot of
skills?
I asked a lot of questions. like a lot of questions. I decided that I was going to have to surround myself with other business owners. So I would go to network meetings. I would, talk to people, random people, and ask them what they did. And if they owned a business, I'm like, okay, talk to me about this. How do you manage this? And like, how do you set up your accountant? And how do you, because I had no clue. Like
Yeah.
I literally took the leap off the cliff and was like, catch me. And
Making the plane in the air.
dude, I was either going to crash or it was going to soar. And thank God, thank God, into the point where it actually like soared, So I surrounded myself with people that I wanted to be like. So I try to, I'm going to say emulate, or I'm going to say even copy the people that I was in connection with, like how they stood, how they carried themselves. To me, that was really important. But also, being a creative does not mean that you have a business mindset. So having to take courses and classes and read and learn, and I am like YouTube University graduate, like it's awesome. But it's important to be able to, I'm going to say for me, not having an ego in that whatsoever. Like I had to drop my pride. I had to drop my I know everything attitude that I had when I was younger, and literally dive in and be like, I know nothing, teach me everything. And I became like a sponge to learn about marketing and growth and, return on investments and how much I should be investing back into my business, and doing it if there is a correct way, you know what I'm saying? But the way that's going to be able to inspire you, but also keep your creative juices flowing. I will be honest. I love owning a business because I don't like working for people, but I really don't like the business part of it as a creative. I have to like take that part of my brain out and then like really sit down and focus on being able to do that part, because it's not my strong suit.
It's something so interesting. So, obviously I've met you recently within the last, 3-6 months. And, the energy that I felt from you being in your presence is that you are so 100% yourself. And so it was so interesting to hear you say that you started off by copying others. So how did you make that connection from copying what other people were doing successful into finding a way to do it Stephanie's way?
Ooh, why did I just get all teary? I spent the majority of my life feeling very stifled and unable to really vocalize what I wanted and what I wanted to do, and to be who I really knew myself to be. So I always told myself in the back of my mind, this is learning from someone else. And I want to be like that. If I saw a businesswoman up there speaking and she just had such clear like dialect and the way that she was talking, and that she carried herself, and like even just pushing the vocals out of her mouth, right? Like I wanted that, but I knew I could do it my way. But I needed to learn that first. And so for me, it was just learning the skills that I felt like I needed to learn to become who I feel like is very powerful within herself. And then just unapologetically allowing me to just come to the surface. It took a lot of therapy, a lot of years, and a lot of trial and error of that, and then backpedaling a little bit, and then being afraid and timid. And then, I don't know, something clicked one day, and I realized, well, actually, I know what it was. I had a stroke and a seizure almost 3 years ago. And when I came out of that, everything shifted for me. I had to relearn how to move and walk and use my hands and speak. And like everything that I kind of fell back on before was kind of wiped clean. And I had to relearn how to do that. And I feel like I was almost like being prepared back then to learn how to do it. And I felt like that was a great opportunity for me at that moment to do it the way that I did it back then, but do it my way. And I learned to carry myself with love and grace, and to not necessarily want to be someone else, but to be me. And I felt like I could embody that at that time. So I've spent the last 3 years really just honing in on who I know myself to be and what I want to be, and just loving myself and giving myself grace and all of the things. And I don't want to be anyone but me anymore. but I do value when I see someone really striving to be their best self. And I realized that back then, it's really what I wanted inside, but I did it by trying to copy someone else.
Yeah.
And now I know I can do it by myself, within myself. And so I don't necessarily have to copy someone else. I can be me, but it had to start somewhere.
Absolutely. And I think there's a big part of being able to, see what someone else is doing. And instead of going straight to copying, straight to emulating what they're doing,
Right.
about ingesting it and saying, okay, how do I take the idea, the end result that I'm seeing, and how do I implement that for myself my own way?
Right. I think age came with that as well. Like I was in my 20s learning those things. And, when you're in 20s, you're still trying to figure out who you are, what you're doing. And,
Yeah. Your brain's not fully developed yet.
no, not at all. So then I was 30, 38, 37 when the stroke happened. So I'm 40 now. And I wouldn't want to be anybody else now, but I've had enough life experience to know that I don't need to emulate anybody, but I can take what someone else I feel like possesses and then see if that is a fit for me and how I can, like you said, ingest it and work that into my life and my business and who I am. And it's just awesome. I love watching people. I think that watching them be passionate, watching them be happy and being their most authentic self is just something that I absolutely love to watch. And I hope that I inspire other people to do the same thing as well. So,
well, I know you do. So,
well, thank you.
That's not even a question, but it is interesting. I'm also 40. I turned 40 last year. And I think, 40 was, especially as we were growing up, was typically seen as there's a midlife crisis. But now that I'm in that space, I think it's just this pace of we just don't
care anymore
what other people think. It's so exhausting.
It is so exhausting. I wish I could go back and tell myself when I was younger, none of it matters. None of it matters. Right. And it's funny because I try to hold on to that now. I don't really have issues with doubting myself or wanting to be something different. I know I can improve and do whatever I want to do because I've done it before. But turning 40, it was I slipped into this bath of I just don't care. It's my life. No one else is living it. Why can't I just let all that go, leave it where it is, and be as full of myself as possible? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to explode through my fingertips. I want it to all come out. And I don't want to leave anything on the table. And that's also what the stroke taught me as well. It's life is so short. And the things that are the most important, when I was in my 20s, mean nothing to me now. What matters now is being present and showing up and realizing that when people come into your, life, or you come into and sit in my chair, that moment is that moment, and you need to honor it and be present and just be as full of you as you possibly can, just like you are as full of you as you will possibly are. And then it's just magic.
Yeah. I sometimes think back to my 20s and the things that I worried about or, that occupied my time. And I just laugh and I just want to hug that version of myself and be it's gonna be so much better.
It's so good. Just wait. Just wait. Yeah. I actually write myself letters. So whenever I write myself letters all the time, can you believe what we did? Because I tend to put my head down and just really focus and push through everything in my life. And so this year and then last year really too, I promised myself that I would take a little bit more time to lift my head up and actually honor what I've accomplished and where I'm at. And so part of doing that was writing her a letter, or even my younger self a letter, and letting them know look where we are now. I know it was hard then, but look where we are now. And it's just beautiful.
Well, and it's such a good point to acknowledge that progress, because it's only in hindsight that we can look back and be wow, look what I've done. Look how far I've come. Those things that were so challenging that kept me up at night, I figured it out. I found a way through.
Right. It's so good. And I was a young mom as well. My girls are, older, almost done with high school. And like, it's this weird phase of life, and especially motherhood, where it's like, I can actually have time for myself now a little bit. So then it's like, where do I go from here? Which is the reason why I started another business because I'm like, why? Let's have one more thing to birth and grow and like take care of. So it's 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 interesting to watch the evolution of my life, not only as a woman but also as a mother, like, coming to this phase of my life where I call it my afterlife, because I'm starting to now make plans for my future and not necessarily my children's future. And it's really a weird space to be in, but also really really cool at the same time. So I'm learning to navigate my emotions of letting go and allowing my children to have their space and like, their lives, and then also building a life of my own. And as a businesswoman, it's exciting because I know that I'll have more time to invest, and I'll have, all of this other stuff. So I'm really excited about like the future of my businesses and where they're going, and the growth of myself as well within that. So
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that, because I do, so your shop is located in an area north of Houston called Old Town Spring.
yes.
And it's just this incredible area full of like quirky little shops and just like the most adorable stores. And people just love to come through and walk through there. And your store, your shop front, people wouldn't know that it's a salon.
No, no. No, I have one room within. I'm in a house. It's over 100 years old. It's beautiful, but I have one room that's dedicated for like the salon, and then the rest of the house is dedicated to the apothecary. And in the very back, I also have a dispensary. It's where you can like come in. It's more of like a zero waste store, and you can customize your own laundry soap, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, hand soap, all that good fun stuff. So it's a really neat place. I feel like it's kind of, like I said, kind of just taken off and grown on its own, but we try to do as much, I'm going to say more organic products as we possibly can do, but we also really want to be able to save on the amount of like waste that we use. So like with our candles, we offer a refill service. So you buy the candle and then you can bring it back in, and for half of what you paid for, we can refill the vessel. So that way we're not just throwing the glass jars away and things like that. We also have jams and pickles and things like that within the apothecary. So when you come back in to buy more, if you bring your jar back in, we give you a discount. So we're trying to do things that are a little bit more on the earth savvy side, so where we are making less of an imprint on, waste. So
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing to keep in mind and have that as, a foundation of your business, and
yeah,
keeping that as part of the DNA of the company.
yeah, it matters. It matters to me. I want to be able to, I'm going to say, leave the world a better place for my children. So I feel like there is a lot of wastefulness that happens, and it's something that I'm passionate about. And, I try to help everybody else kind of come into that mindset as well.
So what do you see as being next for you, and what sort of, mindset challenges are you facing or have you already overcome to get to that next level?
I feel like it's, for me, I'm always striving. I, I don't feel like I'm ever really like settled and I'll be like, that's it. Like I've reached the pinnacle. I'm always coming up with new ideas and how to expand and how to rebrand and how to like, push forward and like blend my companies together. Because I have the salon, the apothecary, but I also have a life coaching business as well. And so I really believe that it comes from like the inside out for people. So I feel like my mindset for me is I'm going to try to rest a little bit more this year. And when I say rest, I mean active resting. So like I like being busy and I like making things. And so the struggle that I have is slowing down long enough for my body to actually catch up with my ideas. Because I don't like to slow down, because I think constantly. I feel like for me, I have to be very I'm going to say structured with how I negotiate my days. So because I own a few different businesses, it's important for me to be able to take the top priorities of those businesses and like time block out when and how I'm going to get those things done throughout the day. So I think that my future is going to have a lot more podcasts in it. I feel like my future is going to have, I'm going to just say longevity and expansion. I want to be able to grow the apothecary and retire from hair. And I want to do more things that set my soul on fire. And part of that is like the coaching and the speaking and making the products, and then teaching people how to make the products as well, because it's important for people to understand, you know, what they're making or what they're doing to put onto their body and their skin, and it matters. So I
Well,
feel
and
like
it's
my future, go ahead.
no, it's just nice how the three of them tie together, and
Right,
especially of your philosophy of, it is beauty, but it's coming from the inside out, and how,
right.
each one of those pieces can support people, but you're also only one person.
I am. So I do have a beautiful employee. She helps me out tremendously. And delegation is something that I'm good at, but I have a hard time with control. So I have started to teach her how to make certain things, and then we do it within the salon, or I'm going to say in the shop. So I have her making candles now, and like bath bombs and things like that. So I have help now to do so, and then I will eventually like expand into that. So it's going to be a lot of work for me as an individual to be able to let go of the reins, haha, because it's Eden rain, letting go of the reins just a little bit to allow someone in to do it. I'm very much so particular about how everything is packaged, how it looks, how it feels, how it smells. To me, as a creative, it's really important. And I think what I find the most challenging is finding people who are like-minded like me, that are willing to put in that extra oomph, because most people don't. And I do. And I really want to find, I'm going to put that out into the universe. I want to find more people that I can hire and bring in that will do that, because I really want to expand and maybe even open up a second location. So
I think that would be amazing.
yeah,
Bring
I
one
want to have like a
closer to me.
coffee shop and awesome stuff. Like, where are you at? Montgomery,
In
right?
Montgomery. Yeah. It's an
Okay.
investment for me to drive, time investment to drive down there.
I like it. Yeah, no, I see it expanding into something so much bigger. Like really the ultimate goal for me, if I can like reach that far forward, is to have like what I call a life center. But I want there to be an apothecary section, and I want there to be like a clean eating cafe. And then I want there to be like, coffee. And like I want there to be a place where people can come in and work. I want there to be a space for meditation and coaching and like all of this stuff. So that's the eventual dream and goal. And I would like for it to be on land, and I want to have goats outside and teepees. Like I have a lot of
Well,
things going on in my brain.
you and I have talked about the llamas and taking their fiber to make
Yeah.
dryer balls.
Yes.
So
We
we
need to
got a
make that
plan for
happen.
that.
It's going to be fun. And I think it's really neat because, like, I get my goat milk from a local goat farm. And I think it's funny that I can be like, this goat milk came from Stella. So Stella is part of the group in making your soap. And this is like where it comes from. So I like the fact that we can trace it back to where it came from. And to me, I think it just gives my business a different kind of edge, basically, so that you could go and they can go and
It's
out visit
literally
the
a face,
farm. Yes,
literally a face to go with
right.
it.
I love it. I think it's so incredible. And I'm having a blast doing it. And really, I think that's the most important thing, is that whatever you do, like just have so much fun doing it. And the moment it stops being fun, address yourself, because there are moments where it doesn't feel fun to me, but then I have to like remember like why I'm doing this, right?
Yeah.
Like why I started to begin with. Like soap making is so relaxing and calming to me. And I started doing it because it was good eye hand like coordination after the stroke, really, too. So
Really?
So being able to bring in all of the senses for me, and that's what I really love about making products, because scent can help your memories and it'll bring
Absolutely.
back memories. And so I have some issues with like memory loss, and or like they call blackout memory. So like in the past, like I won't remember things. I can see a picture of myself doing something with my children from the past, but I have no recollection of it. So,
Mm.
but it's slowly starting to come back. And the more that I feel like I'm working with different scents and different, I'm going to say just moving and functioning and getting in my own like little space and like doing my thing, I feel like it's really helping my, cognition and my brain function. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
part of my therapy really. And it just became a business. So
I love that. So I've got one last question. This is
yes,
the
ma'am.
good, bad, and ugly of business.
Okay.
So my ugly question for you is
Yes,
actually
ma'am.
talks about your beauty,
Okay.
because I know this is a podcast. So for those listening, you're a gorgeous woman.
Thank you very much.
And being a woman just in general, there can be people that put expectations or they have certain biases and think you're going to be a certain way.
Yeah.
I know you've had to have dealt with that. I mean, there's
I
no way you
have.
haven't.
No, I have. I think that's the reason why I gear myself so much to try to make others feel so comfortable around me. I remember when I was in my 20s, I had this group of ladies. I was at a Christmas party and I had this group of ladies come over to me. Now I'm standing by myself because nobody really wanted to talk to me, right? And I guess I'm intimidating, but in my own heart and in my own mind, I don't feel that way about myself. And so they came over to me and I thought that they were going to be like nice and talking to me and all this stuff. And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, "You're the exact kind of woman that we all love to hate."
Oh my gosh.
Mhm. And it shocked me because I'm not an unkind person. I'm very sweet and loving and nurturing, but it hurt my heart. And
Yeah.
it's kind of stayed in my mind until I got a little older and I realized like it had nothing to do with me. And that's kind of why I wanted to start like helping women to understand that you can appreciate something else. But I also get the whole like, you shouldn't like you make this like you know what I'm saying. And I'm like, yes, I'm capable of things other than like looking the way that I look. I will be honest with you, I hid inside of myself for a really long time because I didn't like it when someone would tell me that I was beautiful.
Mm.
It bothered me and I felt like it was a hindrance for me. And learning to it sounds so cliche and I don't want it to come off weird, but like sometimes I wish I could just not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I could
Well,
just not be that way so that when people would approach me, they cannot feel a certain way. But I realize I can't be responsible for their feelings about that. But I
I
can
think
just be as me.
it's the grass is always greener, right?
Right.
People are always going to say, "Oh, you probably had things easier because you look a certain way," and not knowing what it's like to live in your skin.
No, I've had a hard life. I've had to work hard for every single thing that I have. I've gone through 2 divorces, like health issues. Like I've had a hard life and I've had to really work hard to get to where I'm at. But when people look at me, they don't see that. And it's not really their responsibility to see that. But that's also maybe part of my journey and the reason why I should share my story and see what I have to do. Yes, it's hard. It's hard in all things. I don't really know how to discuss that without feeling uncomfortable because I don't so and then that's a battle as well. Like I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to come off too arrogant, right? Even though it's not arrogance, but because somebody will look at me a certain way, they perceive it as arrogance.
Yeah.
It's very different. I don't like it. Sometimes I just want to wear a bag over my head and just call it a day.
But then there's people who don't feel pretty, who feel ugly, who just want to wear a bag on their head.
Yes. And well, I mean, I think we all struggle that. It's universal, right? Because
Yeah.
I have insecurities and things that I want to work on and things like that. But I think one thing that it's not necessarily maybe like the look that intimidates. I think it's my energy that may intimidate it, because I don't talk bad about myself to myself anymore. I
Mm.
spent the majority of my life doing that. And I woke up one day and was like, why are you so mean to yourself? And I told myself I wouldn't do it. Not to mention, I have 2 daughters that are watching me. And do I want them to talk to their selves this way? And the answer was no. So I knew I had to change. So I'm sure it makes people uncomfortable because I'm just really in love with myself. It's, and not in a like narcissistic way. Like I just
Yeah.
truly love who I am. I'm comfortable in my skin, and I want everyone to feel this way.
Well,
So,
I posted on social media a little while ago about people about kindness. And a lot of times
mm,
kindness is mistaken for weakness.
yes,
And my belief is that being kind to yourself is the ultimate show of strength.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the world is hard enough, right?
Yeah.
The world is hard enough. Why do you have to be so mean to you? Like it hurts my heart. See, here we go, the tears. It hurts my it hurts my heart to look back and see how unkind I was to myself. And really, I think it was just the repetitiveness of like what I have heard growing up, right? And how my mom spoke to herself, and then like my aunt spoke to themselves. And like I felt like that was normal for me to repeat. And it just makes my heart hurt so much. And I think that's why I have so much passion and love in my heart for other women. And I just kind of want to reach inside of them and just like nurse their heart back to health, and like tell them not to talk bad about themselves. And it's really difficult too as a hairstylist. Like as soon as you sit someone in the chair and turn them towards the mirror, they always cast their eyes down.
Mm.
It's immediate. And it's surprising to me when they actually look at themselves in the mirror. And what I notice is like they don't. They look everywhere else except for at themselves. And so most of the time when that happens, I try to challenge them to look at themselves. Or I'm like, look at your eyes. You have such pretty eyes. Or I'll say something, that gets them to start kind of maybe paying attention to themselves in the mirror. And throughout the, God, almost 30 years of doing hair, I feel like I've really honed in the ability to help women be kinder to themselves. And like when they say something negative about themselves in the chair, I make them stand up. I stop doing their hair. I make them stand up and get really close to the mirror, look themselves dead in the eye and say 5 nice things. Like I
And I
won't
bet
finish
that's
doing their
hard.
hair until they do that. Well, and that's what started with me. Like I had to have that moment with myself and actually look at myself in the eye. And I don't think that, from birth until, I was like probably like almost 27 years old that I ever did that. Like I never really looked at myself in my eyes and told myself that I loved myself or that I was going to be okay or said something nice to myself. And it's important for women to know how to do that. And I feel so honored and so blessed to be able to do what I do for a living. But really, it's the inner paycheck for me that matters. When I turn the woman after the hair is done, and because you've
Yep.
experienced it, there is this like magic that comes up out of their chest and like through their hair and through their eyes, and they get this big smile on their face. And I'm just like, yes, mission accomplished. Because I don't want to just do your hair, like, right? I want you to look beautiful on the outside, but I want you to know that you can actually love yourself and feel beautiful on the inside as well.
And
So,
that's so much more. I mean, you think about like when that shines through someone, whether they've done their hair or not that day, like if they truly feel good about themselves, it comes out. And to be able to add the hair on top of it it's just icing on the cake.
you froze up. I didn't hear anything that you said.
Oh no. Oh. I don't know if it recorded or not, but I was just
Okay.
saying like when someone feels truly beautiful on the inside, how it doesn't matter, if they're wearing makeup that day or if
No,
they've done their hair that day, like
no,
it just shines through naturally.
it does. I I love, like I said, I love seeing someone just be them. And I'm a big complimenter. Like, I will see you in the middle of a store and be like, girl, I love your shoes. And I feel like more women should do that with other women, right? And so
Absolutely.
I told myself a long time ago that I would never, ever, ever be the woman that walked up to me and said, you're the kind of woman that we love to hate, because she had no idea what I was struggling with at that moment. She had no idea that was my marriage was on the downpour. She had no idea that I was literally hurting on the inside. And I felt so completely isolated and alone. And then that was just a confirmation of how I was really feeling on the inside. And I felt so utterly alone. And I told myself I would never, ever, ever make anyone feel like that. Like,
Mm.
I don't want anyone to ever feel like that in my presence. So I vowed to myself that I would never do that, or like try not to make anybody feel that way. And I think it's just over time evolved into me being, I feel like I'm just a big power light that I'm like, I'm going to shine it on you, and I love that part of myself now that includes and makes people feel at home and welcome and loved and warm. And, now I love it when someone walks up to me and they're like, I can feel your warmth. They
Mm.
don't say anything about how I look. It's just, I can feel your warmth. And to me, that is like the most best, amazing compliment that anyone can ever give me. And so, yeah.
Well, I absolutely love this. And I know that you and I could keep going on for
I know,
so
right? For
much
hours.
longer, which is why I need to make an appointment for the salon so that we can. But
Perfect.
as far as this goes, thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable with us and sharing the good and bad and ugly of your business journey. And I appreciate it so much because it is a personal thing. Like, who we show up as a business is who we are
Mhm.
in our personal life as well. And so
Yeah,
it's important to honor both sides of that because we are all within one. We
absolutely.
encompass it all. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I will put your contact information in the chat, not in the chat, in the podcast description. So for those local in Houston, they can get in touch with you for your life coaching business. I assume you do that online so people can reach out to you from
You
wherever.
can. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. Well, we'll
Thank
make
you
sure.
so much. I'm honored and humbled, and I really appreciate you allowing me to be a part of this.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad
Mm.
to know you and for us to shine our lights together.
Thank you.
For everyone else, thank you so much for listening to this. I appreciate you being here. Please like and subscribe to this podcast so you'll be notified of more like this. And please reach out to Stephanie if anything that she said resonated with you. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.